Welcome to the American Academy of Grief Counseling's Pet Loss Grief Support Programs video on terminally ill pet diagnosis. And this is a very sad video because obviously as pet owners, we all dread this day, the day of bad news. And within this little vignette of an individual, we can imagine being a person who on that horrible day sees that their dog is no longer healthy. He has various symptoms, and the immediate fear of a potential lethal disease is something that enters into us, no matter how old our dog, cat, or pet may be. So, upon visiting the veterinarian clinic, one is already within this vignette, this idea is already very anxious. The drive to the clinic itself is filled with anxiety. As lab work is completed, there's a nervous optimism versus a quick dread that something might not be good with the diagnosis. And of course, upon completion of hearing that horrible news, that diagnosis of a terminal illness that really has no cure, one is left with numerous questions about the condition itself. One might ask, are there various options? What is the cost? And if it is terminal, how much time is left? What kind of treatments are there maybe that can be used to give me just a little bit more time with my pet? What are various options to reduce the pain that my pet might experience? What are the symptoms that might occur with this particular disease? And these questions all continue to whirlwind within our mind as we're left with that long car ride home, realizing that one's pet, one's lifelong friend, has a serious condition, and time that was once thought to be guaranteed is no longer a reality. So, as we leave this image of what many of us have experienced in the past, or some of us have not experienced yet, it is a very sad day upon learning that diagnosis. So, the pain of the loss is something that is natural. Losing someone you love always hurts. And just because it's a pet, a dog, or a cat, never allow anyone to diminish that love or this horrible news and how it is affecting you, because you are entering into an anticipatory grief of the potential loss that is going to occur. Now, it's painful whether your pet lives a long life, but sometimes your pets can die due to terminal illness even in their prime years. And this can even be more upsetting, and this can be more traumatic to you. So, how do we look at it cognitively? Do we deal with it with all these whirlwind of questions and fears and anxieties? When the bad news arrive, options are available. You can obviously get a second opinion, and you can look at also various other alternate options. But you really want to, before you start deciding on these options, how much time is left is obviously one of the biggest questions. What are these surgery or procedural options? What are the cost of these options? Not everyone has pet insurance. And what is the quality of life with this terminal illness? And what kind of quality of life can improve the options of particular pet, the dog or the cat? Of course, you're also going to take into consideration how old the pet is. Is the pet in his prime or her prime? Or is the pet already very old and potentially would not survive a procedure? So you're looking at many subjective elements: the age of the pet, the suffering the pet might endure, the economics, the procedure itself. And these all come together and playing the key role in making this ultimate decision. Unfortunately, sometimes one can only enjoy the time that's left until that difficult day comes to decide upon euthanizing our beloved friend. So many things to consider, many painful things to consider. So when the day does come for euthanasia, when the terminal illness has destroyed the quality of life and suffering is so intense, beyond medication. Then one is left with that difficult day to say goodbye and to put their own selfishness away and think of their friend who was suffering greatly. So while you might have been anticipating this day, it's not going to make it any better. The grief is going to be intense, especially if you know in advance. It's be haunting, but at least you are prepared and you can give your pet a final day, his favorite treats or her favorite treats, whatever is capable of being done. Hopefully, it has not gotten to a point where it's so painful that the dog cannot even move anymore, or the cat, or the horse. And remember, after the event, when healing begins to take place, feel free to memorialize and remember your friend, but never, ever allow someone to downplay your loss. So some of you watching this video again, have been through this, and you're probably thinking back to how it occurred, the disease itself, how your pet felt, the things you tried to do to save your pet, and that last day. And how did you memorialize? How did you go forward after the loss? What were your steps that you took during this horrible time? And if you have never gone through this and you have a pet, are these things that you have thought about just to at least be cognitively aware? Because we all know cats and dogs do not live very long lives compared to human beings. So it's something that you need to be thinking about and ready for when that day does come. And that's not a morbid thought, it's just a realistic thought. And it might be a thought that makes you enjoy the good days you have. And when maybe one of your pets makes a mess or has an accident, you're a lot more grateful that they're there, because when they're gone, you're going to miss all those little things in themselves. And the American Academy of Grief Counseling offers a pet loss grief support certification. Below is the link. Our email is info@aihcp.org, and our phone is 330-652-7776. And I'd like to offer my condolences to everyone who has gone through this terminally ill phase of and these difficult decisions of treatment or not treatment, and then eventual euthanasia of your pet. And I'd like us all to remember that they've crossed the rainbow bridge and they're waiting for us. So with that, we can have a little bit of a smile and a little bit of hope. I'd like to thank you for listening and have a good day.